morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Dissident Daughters podcast.
I could not sleep last night. I had so much anxiety. I don't know. It just comes and goes. But.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Like, this week has been rough.
Has it? Well, it's coming the end of school year.
Yeah.
Right?
That's definitely
But you're dealing with some other stuff too.
Well, it's like, I still feel like emotions come in waves of my entire life changing.
Yes.
And just to give you an example, like my niece is having some issues. My little baby niece, she's 2.5. They think that she might have a brain tumor.
Oh, wow.
And so they're doing some tests, and she's got an MRI tomorrow. And so her mom, my sister-in-law, sent out a text to the whole family saying, hey, just so you guys know, like, keep us in your prayers, this kind of thing. And that just starts a lot of emotions for me. Because I suddenly start feeling all of the weight of not having prayer mean anything to me anymore. And having not knowing how to help.
Right.
Before, when you could say, oh, I'll pray for you or I'll fast for you and we'll do this whole thing, it felt like a community effort. Like, we're all coming together for this common purpose, right?
Right.
And that common purpose is still there, but I'm just like, prayer isn't going to do shit. Like, I have some anger and then I have some sadness about that. Like, I don't even know how to respond in a text thread,
right.
Because everyone's saying, oh, we'll pray for you. And I'm thinking,
it's not sincere. You're not feeling it sincere.
No,
you couldn't
I'm
say
not
it
gonna
sincerely.
Say that. Yeah, because that doesn't feel sincere on my part. And it feels sad that I can't offer that comfort. So I'm genuinely thinking, how can I offer comfort without saying, I'm going to pray for you?
The token saying of,
yeah.
So you're rebuilding yourself. We're rediscovering who we are, right? We're starting over. And so you have to decide and find out on your own what prayer means to you now. If it doesn't, what can you, like you said, what can you offer now that is sincere and meaningful? I still think there's something about the power of prayer. But maybe for you, it just doesn't mean anything anymore. Maybe who are we praying to? If we really dig down deep, it can get really, really sticky.
Yeah. I think it's true. It just makes me really emotional because I don't know anymore.
Right.
I used to feel, I used to feel so much comfort in just praying.
Right.
And now I feel stupid. I was duped into thinking that was doing something, and I felt those feelings. I don't know. It's confusing, and it's discouraging, and in some ways I feel like praying to this being who may or may not exist, and who may or may not give a crap about anything that we're going through. I can't. And I know other people who are saying, we'll pray for you. They are sincere. It's not that I'm trying to say that anybody else isn't sincere, but if I were to say that, it wouldn't be sincere.
Right.
Because I don't feel that way. But part of me is we have to be God, in air quotes, for each other. So I'm trying to find how to do that.
Well, and you don't have to do that immediately. That's going to take some time. We were given all the answers, everything.
Yeah,
and so now
easy.
We have to do the work of starting over because those answers weren't necessarily true for us. So we're starting over and
And I understand why people stay in even when they have questions and doubts, because it's so comforting.
Yes.
And I wish I could still feel that. Because, when I'm dealing with just chronic pain and I was told yesterday I probably need surgery, and I just, in those times in the past, I would have immediately gone to prayer and I would have felt some, some comfort in that. And now I just feel like, I don't know where to go for that I want that same feeling, but
it's very uncomfortable.
Yes.
And nobody wants to feel that way.
Yeah.
But there's you gotta feel that. Yes. And deal with it.
Totally. I've like promised myself that I will not bury my emotions because I know they'll just wait for me. And so I let myself feel them, but it's hard to feel them because you don't want to.
Right. Well, we've spent our whole life pushing them down and pushing them away and trying to put on a happy face.
And maybe the God thing is exactly that. It's a way to make our feelings go away.
Maybe it's not. Maybe you find something. Maybe, some people believe in the universe or, something different than like this God man with a big long white beard or whatever.
Totally.
So and maybe you come up.
That's what
you're searching for something.
Yeah, I mean,
but why do we feel like we need to replace it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I think it's because there was so much comfort in there, and then when there's none, you're like, I gotta fill that gap with something, right?
Yeah, it's so complicated.
Oh, gosh, I don't know, but yeah, it comes in waves. Like sometimes I feel like I'm doing great and fine and wonderful, and life is good, and I'm still all of those things, but. These waves of emotion come when certain things happen, when I'm like, I feel helpless, I feel hopeless, I feel sad about the loss of a God that I once felt really close to. Yeah. Like I felt like he was so real and like he knew me. And now I feel like that was just me knowing me. It was me all along giving myself those feelings, or I don't know.
It is complicated. Like, can we rely on ourselves? If it was you all along, why can't it still be you?
Yeah, right. I know.
But also, we just don't have to have all the answers. Like, you just can do one day at a time and figure out. Yeah. That you don't have to have it all figured out. We're not ever going to have it all figured out.
No.
So.
No, probably never.
Yeah. But I think that in the exploring that can be. That's when you really can find yourself. You're doing the hard work and figuring it out. Yeah. And that's what's going to resonate with people around you and your family. Yeah. That sincerity.
Yeah. The idea of a higher power, of something bigger than us feels right to me. I just don't know what that looks like.
Right. Yeah. You get to rebuild it.
Yeah.
But there is like that comfort in like a blessing when you're sick or the things that we always kind of relied on. I always turn
to that.
That is, it's just everything is just kind of in pieces.
Yeah, and also that community of coming together for a common purpose of like my whole family's like, oh yeah, let's do a fast and we're all gonna pray for her today, and it just feels like there's a little bit of I'm a little bit on the outside, even though like a bunch of my family's not in the church.
Yeah.
But we're all kind of in different places.
It's just giving you some pause to think about things.
Yeah. So anyways, that's why I'm emotional.
That's hard stuff. That's like, we just have to start over.
Yeah.
And how do you do that?
Yeah.
When you're given all the answers and you're supposed to do everything a certain way, it was so easy.
Yeah. And when life is just kind of going along as usual, you're not faced with all the things.
You just go with the motions.
And then when there's a tragedy, I've had a few in the last couple years, people died that I knew and things like that. And that always brings up all the emotions to the surface. And it brings to my mind like, hey, you have to deal with this.
Yeah.
You have to deal with this loss. You have to figure this out. Even though, I know there's not a timeline on it.
Right.
But that's what always brings it up is stuff like
this. The comfortable thing would be to figure it out. And that's what we want to do. We don't want to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. We just want somebody to give us an answer.
But there really is no quick answer.
No.
So, in the church, like, we're all cookie cutters. There's one way to be. Yeah. And that's the way you need to be to make it back to heaven. You have to.
And it's the same answer for everybody.
Right. You have
Whereas now... all of us could come to a different conclusion, a different answer, a different belief, and it's totally fine. Like, I don't expect you to come to the same conclusion as me,
Right. And yeah, you can't make anybody do anything.
Right.
I just have questioned everything. I've questioned everything that I was ever taught and tried to dismantle it. Start with the big stuff. Yeah. But sometimes you got to put that on pause and go to the little stuff. Yeah. Like, drinking coffee or maybe a tattoo or all this stuff that we were told not to do. Yeah.
Because it's like dominoes, right? Like one thing goes and then the next, and they all just kind of start to fall.
It reminds me of that conference talk that lady gave about the one cup, cup of coffee. Gosh. And she's all teary, and how this one cup of coffee kept her generations
after her from going to heaven.
It was so serious how she was so emotional about it and up in arms about breaking one commandment led to this whole entire, generation after generation. Like, it was so dramatic.
It's comical. I mean,
they went on drives on Sunday. Yeah. Instead of church. And look what happened. Then they drank coffee. It's like you said, dominoes. Yeah. One thing after another.
One bad thing.
And now they're going to be, they won't get their planet. They're not going to be with God.
Nobody's getting a planet anymore.
I know. They took that away from us.
It's so rude.
I really believed that too.
I did too. I had a whole plan. Well, I think we talked about this.
Yeah. It resonates with me because back in 2017, I sitting in the doctor's office with my husband, who insisted on going with me. And I had to tell my doctor that I was abusing my Xanax. And I wouldn't have, he was smart to go with me because I wouldn't have said it.
Yeah, he's like, if he drops you off, you might.
And I kept saying, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll get this taken care of and stuff. I know I wouldn't. So, and then she gave him a detox plan for me. And why I ended up there in that chair telling my doctor that, can you imagine? It's like awful. It's so embarrassing.
It's awful.
Was that with the issues with my son, my oldest son, going through, all of the things he was going through, depression, suicide. We'd called the police on him. He'd run away. There was cutting. It was all of the things. And I say he blew up my perfect family. I had this pretty cute picture of my family that would go to church every Sunday, and now it was blowing up, and people could see. People could see the cop car in front of my house. People could see the stuff going on, So it was blown up, and I couldn't deal because I thought I had done all the right things that the church had told me to do, and my life's falling apart. My son doesn't want to. It was a mess. I didn't know how to fix it. Right. And that's what I wanted to do. I want to fix it and control it. And I could not do that. So I started, and it was uncomfortable. So I started abusing the Xanax a little bit more until I was taking handfuls on really bad days, like handfuls. And I found a doctor. It wasn't the doctor I went to, but I had another doctor who I went to, and I said, this is a super stressful situation. And she overprescribed me big time on Xanax. She overprescribed me. My first prescription was 90 pills for a 1 month supply of 0.50. And then I had 3 refills. So that got me started. And there's, I don't want to give anyone tips of how but there's doctors, if you know what to say, they'll prescribe you. So you can shop around, go to different pharmacies. Like it was really bad. And the shame I felt fired me up to cover it up even more. Because
the shame of taking the pills, right, like exacerbated the problem to where you wanted to take more pills.
What's interesting is I always thought, I'm not doing anything wrong. This isn't. I'm not drinking. I wasn't yet. I started later, but I'm not. This doesn't go. There's nothing in the temple questions. The temple recommend questions that say I can't. I'm just trying to survive right now. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to survive. And
so, like, do you see that as like trying to justify it?
Yes. Yeah. But I knew there was shame in it because I was hiding it.
Yes.
I had pills stashed in different places in the house in case someone was in my bedroom, so I couldn't get to them here. I had some stashed other places. I had some stashed in my car. This went on for about a year, and it just got worse and worse. It got to the point where I could not take it. Like I needed it to just get through the day. and it would numb me. So the feeling would just make things okay. Like I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
And that's where I wanted to be. So I constantly wanted to feel nothing. So I got to the point where I'm chasing it. I was chasing the numbness and I couldn't keep up anymore.
So was the bad feelings coming from what everybody else was thinking of you? Or like this certain expectation of like the perfect picture of what it was supposed to be? Was it just like, I can't deal with the fact that my son is struggling so much? Like, where would you pinpoint?
A little bit of everything, but listen, there's nothing special about me. I'm an ordinary person, grew up in the church, and I wanted to please those around me. I want people to like me. I don't think that's very different for most people. I wanted to do the things that would make my parents happy.
You want it to look good on the outside.
Right. Growing up, so I did all of the things, and then I would get praise, and then that felt good, and I wanted more of that, so I continued to do that into my adult life of making decisions based on what I thought would please other people.
Totally.
Which I think a lot of women just do, right?
Oh, yeah. We are definitely conditioned to please everyone.
We want to control the situation. We don't want our kids to act not how they're supposed to be. We don't want people to think because that's a reflection on us. And then if they are behaving badly, I must be a bad mother.
Oh, yeah. Even like a tantrum at the grocery store is embarrassing.
Yes.
Because you're like, people are looking at me and they're thinking I'm a terrible mother. Like, they're watching how I react. And if I don't respond in the correct way, they're going to judge me. I mean, it's so ridiculous.
I was so caught up in what people thought of me.
Yep.
And, as far as like never turning down a calling, even though, the one time I turned down a calling, I was pregnant with my 5th baby, and I had twins that were toddlers. It was a huge surprise. They wanted me to be a primary teacher, and I said no, and I started crying. He's like, I promise, blessings will come to you. And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm like going to have a baby I'm going to have 3 babies in just a couple months. And I remember feeling so like upset with myself that I said no, that I turned it down. Like,
I'm impressed that you stuck with your no.
Yeah.
Because him guilting you when you're literally sitting there crying.
Yes, I was crying.
I had the exact same experience when I had my 2 girls. They were 15 months apart.
Right.
Neither one of them were old enough to be in nursery. And I was in the primary presidency. And when I got pregnant with the second one, I was already freaking out because I had a baby. I was still breastfeeding when I got pregnant. I thought, okay, I'll just try to suck it up and be tough and still do this. And once I had the second one, I took a little bit of time off, but as soon as I got back, I was like, I can't do this. My husband was in a big calling too. I can't remember what, but he was either teaching like in elders quorum or young men's or something during that 3rd hour, which I was also having to do like sharing times and stuff. Right. So I've got 2 babies. I went in and I talked to my bishop and I was just like, I can't do this. Here's our situation. And he's like, yep, everybody has hard situations. That's not unique. He basically told me like, you're being a baby. Everybody has this.
Right.
He said, my wife was the Relief Society president for 14 years while she raised 5 kids. It was so shitty.
It's guilt. It's just guilt driven.
And so
to bully you into taking this calling.
Okay, and put my head down.
Stayed in it.
And walked out the door and stayed in my calling.
Yeah, because that's what we're conditioned to do.
So, I'm proud of you for sticking with your no.
But I felt terrible about it. And he even said, just try it for a while. Just try it. And I'm like, how many times can I say no? I finally he's like, well, you think about it? I'm like, yeah. And I left. But I knew I was going to have to say no. It's just, it's this pressure of your whole life of being a pleaser, which I think most of us can resonate with. And wanting, when my son is like cutting and, when you can see what is happening, I can't hide it. I felt like a terrible mother. My family was ruined and I didn't want to feel that.
Yeah. And you feel the sadness for your son, but even bigger than that is like the shame of like not wanting anybody to know about it.
Right.
How sad is that you can't just put all your energy into solely focusing on helping your son, but you also are like having to hide this scene, right? You're like, let's pretend like all of this is fine while you're trying to make everything else look good on the outside. Yeah. So you're split. Yeah. You're not just fully focused on helping your son feel better. You're focused on trying to make it look better for everybody else.
It's exhausting.
It
really gets tiring. And the second suicide attempt, he ended up in a psych ward. And I didn't want anyone to know. Yeah. But I also needed support. Yeah. And so it's a really sticky place to be. Yeah. And eventually there were a few people I could talk to about it who had similar situations. But for the most part, when we go to church and people ask where dinner was, I tried to make sure I always had an excuse ahead of time. So I didn't have to deal with it. Yeah. Didn't want them to, because to me it was all, I'm a failure. And so it's kind of a selfish thing, because I didn't want people to think badly of me. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lifetime of trying to control the picture and at this point not being able to. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I could do a really good job of pulling it all together and making it look like
phenomenal job.
I killed myself trying to stick to schedules and be everywhere I needed to be when I needed to be there and eventually it catches up to you. You can't, it's not something that's sustainable. Sustain that. So that's where the numbing came in. So I just, it was, the Xanax worked like a charm. It was great. So my husband, I think he knew I had a problem, but he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to say. And he didn't know it was as bad as it was.
And he was a little bit afraid.
He was afraid. Yeah.
Of like you getting defensive about it if he brought it up.
Right. I mean, it's an impossible position to be in.
Totally.
And I think some of my family members suspected, like, what did you think? Did you think, or was it?
Oh yeah. No, I was in that same spot of like, okay, I think there's a problem here, but she's in a really hard place. Yeah. And I kind of went back and forth. It's like, do I say something when like, this is so hard.
It's impossible.
It's impossible because it's like, I don't want you to hate me and be mad at me for there again, like trying to please other people, right? Caring so much about what you think of me. Like, I knew that you would be upset because it's like, you're just trying to survive. Like I saw that of like, you're just trying to survive.
I would get defensive. Like, why are you being critical of me?
Right.
And like my husband said, what would you have said I said, I would have told you to go to hell.
Yeah.
Like, get over yourself.
And I think I thought the same thing.
Like, I especially self-medicated in social situations. So whenever I was around family, whenever we had gatherings, I was especially high. I made sure to be, because I just didn't want to, I just wanted to be numb and get through it. Not that I didn't enjoy being with my family. Right. But it's just.
But you knew there was going to be some comment
There's
here.
Something.
Or something brought up there. Or some question about what's going on or whatever. Yeah. And so you're like, that's how you prepare for it. It's like, I don't want to like fall into a puddle of tears when anybody asks me about it. Yeah. So I'm going to numb so I feel nothing.
Yes, exactly. I don't want to feel anything. So that's also not sustainable. You can't live your life chasing the numbness. Yeah. So
because eventually it takes more and more and more to get numb, right? Yeah. Like I've only had a Xanax like once in my life, and it put me down. Yeah. Like I slept for 4 hours.
And they usually start you off
and you
like
gave it to me actually.
I've been known to do that.
It was on our trip back from Hawaii, and I was so anxious. I hate that flight back.
It's terrible.
In the middle of the night over the ocean.
Red eye is the
I'm
worst.
like ready to freak out, and you're like, "Here, I'll give you a Xanax." I'm like, "Okay."
See, so it's not like Xanax was new to me. I've been using Xanax my whole life, but I had been using it just temporarily, and because I have anxiety, I'll have panic attacks every once in a while, so I was prescribed it, and I would just use it occasionally.
When you had a panic attack,
I was not abusing it until 2017. And, well, a little bit before that, but
it was kind of a slow progression.
It was definitely a slow progression. It's not like I just one day I started taking
handfuls. Yeah.
And then I added vodka to it. My husband would go to the gym at night, and I would just take a little half a shot of vodka, and it just helped me sleep with the Xanax. It was terrible, stupid, not a good idea.
Yeah.
And so it progressively got worse to the point that I was suicidal, couldn't do it. Wrote the letter. We've talked about it.
But
took a handful.
So did you kind of like plan it out? Like, was there a day or a week where you're like, okay, this is the last week, or this is the last day, or this is when I'm going to end my life?
You can't make sense of it.
There wasn't that much.
I was sick. I was super depressed, and I wasn't in my right mind. So it's hard to make sense of what. It was just kind of like, I can't sustain this. I kept thinking that. I'm like, I don't know how much longer I can. I'm getting tired. And there's nothing that happened. It just was one day. I'm like, I can't. Yeah, I'm done.
And so when you sit down and start writing that note, what is going through your head? What is your thought process?
I was sad, but also kind of relieved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I thought,
it's going to be over soon.
Right, yeah.
Oh, God.
So there's something about, I took more Xanax than I've ever taken, and then I took it with vodka because I knew. And then I woke up the next morning, and I was so surprised.
Yeah. And part of that is escape. Right?
Absolutely.
You're like, I am going to escape this
Yes.
life. And this is kind of maybe a pain-free way of doing it a little bit.
I don't know that you can really try to reason it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not in your right mind when you're at that place.
Right, but you definitely don't want to hurt, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you're like, this won't hurt. This will just make me go away.
Right. And I wasn't thinking about, my poor husband who said, well, I was the one that was going to, find you. So you hadn't thought through that. No, I wasn't thinking through that.
What did you think about your kids, or was that like a million miles away too?
No, I just thought maybe this will just be better if.
Yeah. Did you have the thought my kids will be better off?
Yes.
Oof.
Well, I felt like such a failure. I mean, it's really, I wasn't thinking straight. When I look back at it now, it makes me cringe.
Right. It's not logical.
How did I get so sick? But I was.
Yeah. And you're not alone.
And I'm not alone.
This happens all the time.
Yeah.
People are feeling this around us all the time. I mean, this is not that unique.
And self-medicating is not something that you talk about.
No.
You don't talk about it, so nobody knows. It's shame, guilt, and fear, the cycle. And it feels like you're in a whirlpool about to sink. Every
circling the
trying
drain
to
of
keep
like
above.
Just
Yes, trying to keep, and you get so tired. So
you're like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
I've done everything I can to try to fix this. Right. There's no fixing it.
Yeah,
I'm tired.
Yeah. So after that, the next day was kind of a blur. And then the next day we went to the doctor. I mean, that day I had a conversation with my husband. It's just like,
okay. So when you woke up in the morning, and you were shocked, like your husband still didn't know what you had done the night before. Right?
I carried on like
it was like
nothing was wrong. In fact, I went to Old Navy in the morning and went shopping. And I sent a text to my aunt. I don't really remember, but she called me, and she's had similar struggles. So she called me, and I was driving on the freeway home, and my sister was actually in the sidecar. We'd gone to Old Navy together.
Okay.
And she's like, "What the hell is going on?" And I freaked out. I started screaming and bawling, not like in anger, but just like
just all the emotion coming out.
Yes. On the freeway, we're going 75, and my poor sister...
She had no idea. She's just like,
what
is happening?
What the hell? Yes, she's bawling over here. She doesn't know what to do. So traumatic.
Yeah.
So,
But part of... Okay, your aunt, you grew up with her. She's always been there for you. She's been a support and a friend. And she's also had issues with addiction.
She's a recovering alcoholic. Mm-hmm. She's tried to kill herself.
Yeah. So you knew that this is somebody you could talk to.
So I'm sure that's why. So
the floodgates opened.
After that phone call, she set things in motion and with my husband, and he came home and we talked. And anyways, got me to the doctor and she told him how to detox me, and it was over Thanksgiving.
Yes, I remember.
Nobody knew yet.
Yeah.
Well, you guys didn't know. I hadn't said anything yet. I mean, I had pulled way back, and we were at Thanksgiving dinner at the mother-in-law's house, and I was detoxing off Xanax, but Jeff had some in his pocket he could give me.
Is there anything worse?
It was terrible.
Is there any worse situation when you're trying to detox than going to your mother-in-law's?
It was like, the thing is, my husband had some in his pocket because he was allowed to give me so I could get...
Because you couldn't go cold turkey.
Go cold turkey.
Okay.
But also, I had some stashed around the house that...
So you were still sneaking it.
So I snuck some.
Yeah.
And he didn't know.
Okay.
That's the only way I made it through that day. I was only like 2. Like, I even thought this is worthless. This is not going to do anything. But I just was like...
But it was something.
I was addicted.
Yeah.
I'm an addict.
Feel comfort. Even if it didn't have enough of an effect. It's like, it's comforting just to take it. Yeah. Just because I don't know.
So I got off that, put myself into an intensive therapy program where I went 4 days a week, 3 hours a day. It was a great program. We did group therapy, I had individual therapy, and I had a psychiatrist who was managing my meds and got me on a really good medicine. And that's where I worked through some things and really started to do the work and dig down and be like, why am I, and that's when I really started questioning.
You're like, where did this idea come from?
Why do I
had to be perfect?
Why do I feel like I have to be perfect and that I have to check off all these boxes and that I couldn't have put that all on myself. Like, I had to have learned that somewhere. And so when I got down to it, it was the church. And that was the beginning of my faith crisis. So.
Because you could it was like stepping back a 30,000-foot view of your life and saying, where did this come from? This idea, this pressure.
How did I get to this point?
How did I get to here? Because you didn't make this shit up. You didn't just suddenly say, I'm going to be perfect one day. Like, you were literally, from the day you were born, taught all of these things and all the boxes to check. But you didn't, it's because you don't know anything different. It's hard to see that, it's hard to point the finger at, hey, this could be causing all of these issues.
And the therapy was intense. Like, there was no getting around it. Like,
there was no hiding from
my therapist made me do. And I really wanted to. I wanted to heal. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to. So I really dove in, and I did the work. Whatever I was told, and when I was challenged with questions and stuff, I really would think about it. And so.
And was this maybe the first time in your life that you did that, instead of pushing something to the side or numbing?
Yeah, because for the most part, it was like, I have questioned the church. I remember 18 years old. I'm like, is this bullshit? Is this am I being brainwashed? Like, what is this? I don't know about this. I'm not getting the answers everyone says I'm supposed to. But I didn't want to disappoint my family. And so I'm just going to go ahead and
you push it to the side. You put on a smile.
Yeah.
You
but the whole thing, I remember thinking, even as a kid, like, how am I so lucky that I got born into the only true church? And there's people that are, they'll never hear about the gospel. And like, why me? Why was I so special? Which is a level of guilt, right? It's to push you forward, like to, what's the thing? To those who have been given much, much is...
where much is given, much is required.
Yes. So...
Wow. I mean, that's such an intuitive thought, because I didn't think that way. I didn't think about the rest of the world.
I don't know. The whole thing, I better be really good because I am extra special. We were the chosen generation.
Right. And I think in your family, there was very much this pretending that everything's fine all the time. Right?
Yeah.
Don't show that there are weaknesses here. That was learned behavior.
Yeah. Well, we don't air our dirty laundry. That was the memo I grew up with. Mm-hmm. You can have problems, so we'll fix it. Mm-hmm. Don't share it. Don't talk about it.
Don't share it. Don't talk about it. And that's, I mean, I think it's very common in the church. Mm-hmm. I think that happens. Not everyone feels that, but it's very common.
Yeah. And, you know, I was growing up with, my dad was always in the bishopric or in, you know, elders quorum or high council and my mom was always the president of something. Mm-hmm. Like, and we always had family home evening. Like, we did all family prayer, scripture study. We did all of the things. Mm-hmm. So I just thought that's what you have to do.
And I think your mom and dad made it look easy.
Yeah.
In their own way, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah, they went to the temple. Yeah, it was just like, this is what we do.
This is so simple.
Yeah.
And then when it wasn't that easy, you're like, what the hell's wrong with me?
Well, and it's not like we never gave them, I gave them some trouble when I was a teenager, but nothing like psych wards and suicide and police calls. And it's just, so I'm like, I don't know. It's...
Yeah, because you're like this. And so then when your son starts having these issues, you're like, this is not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was promised that if I made all the right decisions, that my family would be perfect.
Right.
And so I would always be happy.
You know, I just went to the extreme where it's like, all is lost. Uh-huh. I mean, I really did. It's like, my family's not going to be together forever. So what the hell is the rest of this for? What is the point?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I honestly think there are so many moms sitting in their houses feeling this feeling. Yeah. Feeling it was all supposed to be better than this. Oh. Why am I not feeling all this glorious joy about just being a mother?
Or you see the perfect family and their kids are all, you know, prim and proper and showing up and going on missions and speaking and stuff. Mm-hmm. And we just can never know what's going on in everyone's lives behind closed doors, what they're hiding, what they're keeping, because everyone's struggling with something. Yeah. Yeah. And I think self-medicating is fun and easy.
Yeah.
And you don't feel, at first it's like, I'm just going to do it for a little bit to get through this. No one really told me I can't. There's no commandment that says don't abuse Xanax.
Yeah, and then when life gets easier, you know, I won't always need
I'm just got to get through this.
This is just a stage that's hard.
Yes, it's a great way to justify. I was really good at justifying to myself. Yeah. The conversations
I think we all are.
would have with myself was pretty entertaining. I know when I think back to it. But
you're like, this is fine. It's no big deal.
So, you know what? Okay, so that was 2017, so I started therapy, right, beginning of December. I did that for 3 months, and then I did, you know, follow-ups and stuff, and I still, anything that was uncomfortable triggered me. I wanted it, but I didn't, again, once I started therapy, I didn't, it was gone. There was no more in my house. I didn't have access to it, and I was trying to be really open and honest with my husband. I needed to build back some trust there. Yeah. And I didn't want to, but I still craved it. Like it took me like 18 months before I really felt like, it's okay. I don't need that anymore.
Don't need it.
Although I was cleaning out drawers just like a few weeks ago. Just decluttering. And I found a pill and I thought it was a Xanax. It wasn't, but at first I thought it was. And so you should have seen the mental gymnastics going on in my head. Because I loved the way it made me feel. Yeah. And sometimes I would love to feel that again. Yeah.
And that's probably going to be a lifelong battle, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have personal experience with it, but that's what I hear people say. I mean, people who are alcoholics are always going to be alcoholics, right? Yeah. And they're always going to battle that.
Yeah, I don't go around telling people I'm an addict.
Right.
But I did have an addiction problem. I really struggled with managing Xanax. I can see where people get caught up and they can't get out. Mm-hmm. I get it. So. Well,
and going around saying you're an addict, I mean, you feel shame even just speaking those words.
But now I don't really give a shit. You know what I mean? I'm like, take me or leave me. Yeah. I'm better for what I've been through.
Absolutely.
So I just know that there's Mormon moms out there that are self-medicating.
So many.
Like hiding. I would hide the little vodka bottles in a broccoli bag in my freezer. Because I knew no one would find it.
No one would go for the broccoli.
No one would look there. And I didn't really have a problem with alcohol. I didn't abuse the alcohol. It was just, I don't feel like I did. It was the Xanax.
Right.
And then the alcohol was just like every once in a while.
Yeah. Just adding it to the, like the combination is not good.
It's not
deadly.
Good for you. Yeah. Yeah. It will stop your
heart.
Yeah. Well, your respiratory system shuts down. You don't breathe anymore. So yeah. So I miss it sometimes, but I don't, not enough to even consider. I've learned other ways to deal that are healthy coping strategies. Learned that I don't need to hide everything. I can share it.
And don't you think that learning the truth about the church has taken such a shitload of pressure off of you? Oh my gosh.
That year was huge. That year was really huge. I just felt like I was taking off this costume of this person I was trying to be. And I just like discarded it. And it was freeing. It was
so freeing.
So lovely.
Because you don't have to be.
That's euphoric in itself.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty down good
feeling.
I'm
just like, not wearing garments anymore. There's still so much I cared about people. Like, they're going to notice. What am I going to do? But I would talk myself through it. Okay, what if? What if they notice? Who cares? Like, there's some strategies and stuff I learned in therapy that I go down the rabbit. So what if?
Yeah.
What if?
What is the worst case scenario? Because a lot of that anxiety is like, oh, what if this happens? But you don't actually go down that path of figuring out
what if it does. Yeah.
Right. And so once you kind of open up that box and you say, actually, what if? What is going to happen? And you go through the scenario in your mind, you realize it's not as scary as you had built up in your mind, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's like untangle it. And I have my therapy journal, and I was going through it last night and stuff, and all of the... I was really in. Yeah. I was all in. I can't believe how much I did all the homework, everything they told me to do. And who showed up in my group therapy is people just like me. Yeah. There was a mom who, she was an addict too. She dealt with chronic pain her whole life, surgery after surgery. And then there was another one she'd had an affair and was excommunicated, and she was coming because she's like so depressed and so but if you look at them, you would never, like, I was like, why are you here? And they were probably thinking the same thing of me.
Yeah, you look so put together, and you're not, you have this image of what an addict looks like.
I know, right?
Guess what? An addict looks like your next door neighbor.
It looks like me. Looks like you. Could be anybody.
Yeah.
So I remember telling you after I had kind of.
Yeah, I knew that you were detoxing on Thanksgiving.
Oh,
I knew that. You did tell me.
Did I tell you? Okay. I don't really remember.
Yeah. I don't remember.
And that felt like an out of body. I felt very fuzzy there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't really remember too much.
I don't remember that much about that day, but I know that it was a rough day.
It was rough. And it took a few weeks to, feel okay. I wanted to crawl out of my skin. It is no joke.
Yeah, it's no joke, right?
Yeah.
It just feels icky.
Yeah, sick, nauseous, like freezing cold. Like uncomfortable, like agonizing at sometimes that it's just like, oh, I know how to take this away. I could fix this. I want to fix this.
Oh.
But
you just want to make it go away.
But I didn't, so.
That's hugely commendable, and not everyone has a spouse like you have.
Right.
Who, you guys had a great relationship, and he, I think, is he's one of the good ones,
yes,
right?
Definitely.
We know this, like, oh my gosh, both of our spouses.
Yeah, we got good ones.
Somehow
the things I've put him through.
Yeah.
But our relationship has only grown and got better and stronger, and we're more honest and open with each other, and it's been really good.
Yeah.
In that respect.
I feel like the hard things are the things that bring you closer together, that help you grow the most. That
you either grow closer together or apart.
Right. And I think in a lot of cases, for a lot of people, it's what destroys their marriage. Addiction and striving for perfection and trying to have this perfect family can and does really often destroy marriages. And it's one of those ironies of the church of like, we teach forever families, forever families, forever families.
It's all about families.
It's all about families. But I have seen time and time and time again where one person is not living up to that perfection, that perfect picture, and the other person says, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
We're no longer doing this because I'm going to move on and find somebody who is going to
I'm going to
give me that perfect picture.
Yes, exactly. And you're looking for something better, but you're never going to find it because it's not. Perfection's not real.
It doesn't exist.
It's not
that
here.
is exactly it. It doesn't exist.
And who really wants that anyways?
Right.
We don't really want that.
No.
I mean,
we want things to be easy. I think that's just in our nature, right?
Yes.
We want things to
comfortable and easy.
Pain-free.
Right.
And comfortable. And that's not possible.
Yeah.
Except, I mean, when you leave the church, a lot of pain goes away. For me, anyways.
Oh, the guilt and shame, I don't miss at all. I mean, I was constantly on a hamster wheel of feeling bad about what I wasn't doing. I wasn't doing it enough.
Weren't doing enough.
Always. I could be doing more. I could be doing better. And then I'm trying to, raise my kids to be perfect and put on a perfect
pressure
show.
on them,
yes, because
right?
that's all I know how to do. That's how I was raised. So that's how I'm going to raise you.
So they see that example. And they see you walking around trying to make the perfect picture. So that's exactly what they're going to do, right? And so, I mean, that's one of the things I'm the most proud of is that I'm stopping the cycle.
Yeah.
Is that I'm reteaching my kids.
Yes,
you've been through this many years of me being this way and putting this pressure on you, but we're going to try to undo that.
We're going to undo that. And we can.
Yeah. And they're not going to have to wait till they're 45 to figure it out.
And it's and we can make mistakes, and let's talk about it, and let's do the what ifs.
Yes.
What if? Well, what if? Like, really, once I learned how to do that, it's kind of an automatic thing now for me to go through it and see, okay, well, the worst case scenario is it's really not that bad.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, and that's what it is. Oh, okay. I can live with that.
Yeah.
So, and then you suddenly, that pressure and that stress goes way down, and anxiety.
It's like a tangle, a knot in your hair. You just got to kind of, kind of gently start to untangle that, and once you untangle it, then you can follow it to the end.
You're like, oh wow,
you're going to survive.
As bad
it's going to be
it
okay.
was gonna be.
Yeah. So it's there's just nothing. There's like I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I don't know the answer. This is what was my experience with something really hard, and how I tried to get through it. That was destructive. And what I did to get help. That's just my story. And people do it all the time. Like, it's just, but we don't talk about it.
Right.
So, but what a support it was to have these two friends in the group that were moms who were going through the same thing, not necessarily exactly the same thing, but we were like free to talk about our faults, our shortcomings, and there wasn't shame.
Yeah.
It was kind of like just some support and cheering on, and we can help each other.
Yeah.
And that's what we need.
And when you look at them and you're like, they're normal. They're like me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, seriously, there was one of them came in and I'm like, she looks so put together. And I was
of course
like,
she
why
did.
are you, I don't
She's
understand.
an addict.
And
that's
then
what we do.
Once you start to, you see how hard people try to hide shortcomings because they don't want people to know.
Yep.
But we need each other.
We do.
We need the support.
Well, and we need authenticity and realness.
Yes.
Let's stop putting on a show for everybody. Let's stop pretending like life is easy and perfect and beautiful all the time.
It's a detriment to our children. It's not helpful.
All of our relationships, it strains.
Yes.
Yeah. And have you since then had opportunities to look back at the what if my suicide attempt had been successful? I mean, that has to be a hard...
It's very painful.
thing to think about.
Yeah, it's very painful.
Because that's painful for me to, I mean, I can't live my life without you. You're my person.
Well, yeah.
You can't leave me like that.
Like, seriously.
The thought of that.
Well, I think back and I think, what my kids would have thought, how my husband would have had to,
Yeah.
But I wasn't healthy. It wasn't in my right mind. So, yeah.
And so there's this relief that you weren't successful.
Right.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the next day I'm like, what the hell do I do now?
Yeah. I just go on living like it's normal.
Like, this was like, it was catastrophic. It exploded my world when I woke up. Mm-hmm. But it was the beginning for me.
Yeah.
To like actually put myself back together.
Yeah.
So
you're like,
sometimes you need those. You got to just hit rock bottom. You got to hit those really, really hard things. Like you said before, like sometimes it takes some serious like catastrophe or trauma to wake you up and say, hey, this is your one guaranteed life, what you're living now. So
this is all we get.
Yeah.
This is all we're guaranteed. This is all we know.
Yeah. This is...
Yeah.
If there is an afterlife, if there is a God and a Jesus, great. He's going to love and embrace me for my flaws and for me just trying. Not because I didn't drink coffee or not because I paid 10% to get into heaven or, I mean, all of the silly rules.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I see being, or I feel really sad about now is giving up everything now for something that you hope for in the future.
I know.
Something that you think you're going to be given after this life.
It makes me sad.
It makes me so sad because I know so many people who are giving up love in this life because they can't have the love the way they want it.
Yeah.
Because they think that being gay is wrong.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And so they're going to give up all of that in this life for...
That's like just your life, your happiness, what a waste.
What a total waste.
It's
because
so sad.
Is that going to suddenly change after this life? You're going to have a different, like, I don't understand.
No, you're still going to be you.
Yeah.
And that's always enough and it's always okay.
If there even is anything.
The whole like life, worthy, that has always been a trigger for me. Am I worthy? Am I worthy?
Yep.
I never felt like I was. It's just, and I got that from the church.
Yep.
So.
Yep. You were taught that you had to earn your worth.
It makes me sad that I couldn't reach out. I don't know why. There were some times that I really wished I'd said things like, I have a problem with Xanax or whatever. I would say that sometimes. I don't know. Would I kind of feel in a joking way or something?
Yeah, you would kind of say it in a joking or a little bit lighthearted way. And it always felt like this topic we couldn't discuss or get deep about.
Right.
I have lots of regrets about that because I'm like, should I have done something different? Should I have said more? Should I have pushed more? Like, honestly, like if we're speaking to other people who maybe have an inkling that someone they love is struggling, like what would your advice be? Like if we could go back and I could do something different, what would that look like?
Well,
that would have been helpful, or is
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I don't know, because I think maybe just saying, "Hey, I am concerned about this.
Yeah,
I'm worried," but I don't know that would. So unless they're ready to. Yeah. Because there were times where I'm like, I mean, where all the bodies are buried. We share our lives together, so. Yeah. It was hard to keep that. Nobody, I couldn't. But it was that was that shame in me wanting to hide it and I'll fix it and control it. Yeah. That I couldn't share it because then what would you think of me? What would everyone think of me?
I would think the same things that I think now.
Well, it's just
you're
you
wonderful.
Get caught up in that. Like I'm just living in that of what are people going to think?
Yeah.
So.
And I think, because I had multiple conversations with my husband where I'd be like, I don't know what to do. I'm worried about her, but I don't know, like, I know nothing about this. Right. I'm not an expert.
Well, and I don't think like, yeah, maybe I'm taking a few more than but it wasn't like, I don't know.
I didn't, I didn't know the extent of what was going on.
I think I hit it pretty good to how bad it was getting.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I really put in a lot of effort to hide that, and I'll fix it tomorrow. I'll stop tomorrow, kind of thing.
But I do wish that I felt more like I could have said something. Like, I could have made a difference. Like, I could have stopped it from getting as bad as it did in some way.
I don't think so.
And do you think that the biggest thing is just, like, if I could have said to you, like, hey, you know, I'm worried about you and I just love you. And if you want to talk about anything, please know that I'm always here no matter what.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, just feeling like support and unconditional love from somebody makes a difference.
Yeah, but I think that's definitely, you know, to let someone know that you care and you're, you know, worried about them. But I would still be defensive. I think I would immediately
You'd be like, everything's fine.
Yeah, why are you, like, and then I would have to try harder to cover it up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to go back and think, it's just, you're not dealing with someone who is...
Oh, if she notices that something's wrong, then I'm not hiding it good enough.
Yes,
I gotta
step double down. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So, I don't know. It's not anyone else's job to fix it. What I needed was the support after... Mm-hmm. And I was totally supported and loved and embraced by my family who knew. Not very many people know. You wouldn't look at me today and say, oh.
Yeah, no.
But, yeah, I think I'm just a Mormon girl who tried to do all the things, and when it didn't work out, I found a way to not feel that. And I think a lot of women are just like that. I don't even think it's not just women.
It's not just women, and it's not just Mormons. And,
That's true. It's just, I think a lot of people find ways to self-medicate because life gets hard sometimes. Life is hard.
Yeah, and when we haven't been taught coping skills, and when we haven't been taught that life is hard.
Yes.
When we're taught like this expectation that if you follow all the rules, everything will be great.
Yeah.
That's unrealistic.
Pretty. It's not. We should be teaching our kids this in school, like the coping skills, and when things get hard. And I think it's actually getting better now.
Yeah.
I think there are some things happening in our schools, but we also need to just start it in our families.
Yeah.
With our kids.
Yeah.
We just need to be open and talk about hard things and how we're going to get through them. And
because mental health was not talked about in our parents' generation. And in our generation growing up. I mean, I think it started to be once we were, you know, maybe teenagers, young 20, you know, it has come a long way in our lifetime.
Right.
But before that, like we didn't talk about getting therapy. We didn't talk about being medicated. We didn't talk about, my mom is, if you even, she
anti,
thinks therapy is like, means that you're crazy.
Yeah. Well, that was what that generation thought.
Yeah.
That's what
only crazy people go to therapy. Well, guess what? We all need therapy.
Oh, therapy is a game changer.
And
medication. Like, as I have a memory in 3rd grade of a feeling I couldn't name, and it was anxiety. I've had it all my life, and I didn't get any help for it until, I didn't get any help for it until my 20s.
Nobody knew how to help you.
Right. I had one doctor was like, it's a sinus infection. It's just a sinus infection. It keeps reoccurring because I didn't feel good and I didn't want to go out. I had like such bad anxiety. And this was I think I was like 12 or 13. And so they kept treating me for
sickness.
For sickness. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s I found a doctor who said, you've got anxiety. There's something that can help, and started me on medication. And it helped.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm an advocate for medication, for depression, anxiety, but also maybe be careful of the the addictive ones. Yeah. And it's not just Xanax. There's a whole like Valium is a really fun one. Like there's other things that you can get.
Well, and people can get addicted to a lot of different things. Pain, you know, people who suffer with pain or have injuries, and then they get hooked on opiates. And It's a real problem.
Like alcohol too. Like, like I'll have wine every once in a while, or we'll have a mixed drink and stuff. I don't feel like that's my problem, but I am aware, like I do monitor myself. I just make sure that I'm not pushing it. Yeah. Because I do have that in me. Yeah. So.
You're like, I'm susceptible to this. And I think just the awareness and being willing to talk about it and once the shame is gone, it's a game changer.
Right. So if you're wondering, what does a addict look like? Go look next door, look across the street. Yep. It could be anybody. And if it's you, then maybe it's time to get help. Yeah. Not you. Or you. Just anybody listening. If they're exactly. If they resonate with that or see something like that, like reach out and ask for help. There's like lots of mental health lines. Utah has some mental health lines you can text on the Safe Utah app. There's lots of resources now. Yeah. Where you can reach out and ask for help any time of the day. So, and therapy, like you said, it's a game changer. Therapy changed my life. It really helped me find myself. So I am pro therapy. I am pro medication.
And I'm pro leaving the church.
Yes, definitely pro leaving the church.
Because once you don't have that pressure of trying to be glorious, it just changed everything for me. Yeah. I mean, literally.
It's the weight. It's, we say it's the weight is gone. This weight is lifted off. That, it's just.
And there are still hard things. Like I started this episode with, the emotions come up and you feel all of this stuff because your life has completely been turned upside down in some ways. And I wouldn't change it for anything. Right. I would not go back for anything to my life before knowing the truth, But there's still hard things. Yeah. Life is still 50-50. Yeah. We still have, and I just feel like our coping mechanisms are so much better now because we know that, first of all, we don't have to be perfect. That's not the expectation anymore.
That's dumb. What is perfect?
Nothing.
Anyways, it's just dumb. It's something the church said to do is that they made up. Yeah. You follow these rules and you're perfect. Well, who wants to be perfect? Like, why? Yeah. Why is that the end goal?
Because we're supposed to be like
God. I seriously thought if I try hard enough, if I try hard enough, I can be translated. Oh yeah, and this was when I was a kid. Totally. The city of Enoch.
I had those thoughts too. Okay, like when I get to this certain place, like I can die now and everything will be great. Right. It'll be perfect. Yeah. Why is death the goal?
Because then we get to the good stuff, right? Heaven. But it's so messed up.
It's so messed up. Yeah. So, well, I'm so glad that, first of all, I'm so glad that you're still here.
Me too.
I'm so glad that you weren't successful in taking your life. Yeah. Because that would change everything for everyone. Yeah. And especially me. Like, I can't live without you. You can't ever die. We're gonna
be old ladies together.
So we have this plan. Our husbands are gonna die first, and we are gonna move in together, and we're gonna live out
rocking
our old
chairs.
Age. Yep.
We'll get ourselves some lazy boys
sitting on the front porch. Yep. Making fun of everybody else.
Drinking coffee with our dentures
and booze. Yeah. Coffee in the morning, booze in the afternoon.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so good.
I'm so grateful for you, and like my husband.
I know.
Your husband is, we have great spouses. So we are pretty fortunate.
I would have said we're blessed, but we're lucky.
We hate that word. Trigger! We're worthy.
I just got rid of a sign this week that said simply blessed in my house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I hate that damn sign.
Yeah, blessed is a trigger word.
I don't know why. And maybe other people are fine with it, but I can't anymore with it.
It's okay. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to.
But yeah, I'm so grateful.
But it is a trigger. Blessed is a trigger word because why am I blessed? But the person across the street who is dealing with cancer, and she's a good person, my neighbor. She's got cancer for the second time, ovarian cancer. So I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, it is a trigger word.
I get really pissed about it because when people talk about right now, I've heard people talking about how blessed we are that there's a temple in Ukraine and it's been preserved. And I want to punch anybody in the face that
Are you
says
kidding
that.
me? You're right.
It's
a war zone.
Yeah.
Like,
hundreds and thousands of people are dying in the streets everywhere.
Like war crimes. Like their mass graves are being discovered, and like
it's horrific. Yeah.
So
somebody tries to say that it's God's insane. House has been preserved and we should be grateful for that? Oh God, I just can't even with it. So anyways, thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
I think it's so helpful to hear other people's stories and to recognize that, you know, if you're going through the same thing, that you're not alone.
Right.
And if you're a friend of somebody going through the same thing, you're also not alone.
Right.
And there's things that, you know, you can do to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hang in there and life gets better.
It does. It gets better.
You're going to go through hard things.
And then it gets hard.
It's going to get better.
And then it gets better again.
Yep. Back and forth forever.
Yeah, it's a journey for sure.
Yep.
But I'm glad I have you to be on it with. Yeah, you're my person too.
And I look so cute today. I'm just like in my...
We're both bawling.
Yeah. I've been crying all morning.
Everybody needs...
Good times.
Everybody needs that one person they can count on.
Yep.
And that's... Yeah, that you could tell everything and not feel judged and lean on when you're having a rough day, complain to, you know, and not feel like you're...
Yeah.
I mean, just someone you can just count on.
Yeah.
So I just love your guts.
The world.
Yeah.
Love you too. All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Whoa.